So Gagan, thank you for giving your time and congratulations on so many achievements that you have. I don't even have, I don't even recall half of them. 7 times winner of Best CEO Award. Of course, GMI Forbes Top 100, CNBC 40 Under 40. Uh, I mean, who are you? And tell us a little bit about your background and your journey. How did you reach here? And a little bit about the Vertex story as well.
Sure. So I'm just a common man. I started my career back in 2002 with a call center. I started on the phones as a telephone sales executive. And, since then, I think the journey has been great. I've been associated with great managers. The CEO that I had then, I think, he's the one who inculcated a tremendous working culture in the BPO industry. And probably he has been the trendsetter, and we've all looked up to him and probably trying to make, him proud, and all of us are getting into different dimensions. So I started on the phone in operations. I, have worked into various departments. In 2015, I decided to quit my corporate life, to quit my regular corporate job, and I started a startup. It was I think I started two startups. I don't think they basically failed. It didn't took off really well. But then Vertex was my third venture that we started with. With the first two startups, I think we got some learnings of what worked with us and what didn't, and we inculcated those learnings, and we started Vertex with just two people, with a very, very small. It was a very small garage in Florida, in fact, where we started with. And God has been very kind. The team that we've had is absolutely phenomenal. What started with two is currently touching 4,000 across 7 countries. So we have offices in 7 countries now, and the employee strength is touching 4,000. We're looking to add about 2,000 more people in the coming year. So I think God has been really, really kind, and the team that has been associated with all the awards and accolades that you're talking about. I think I am somebody who has just been an orchestrator. It's the team who has delivered. It's the team who has got it. And I've basically made a practice that 90% of the times I have my teams receiving these awards on my behalf, because I really believe that it's because of them I have received them. It is because of their hard work. It is because of their dedication, and everything to do with whatever you see under my name. It's basically recognition of how hard and how tough my team has been in the last 6-7 years to achieve great success, is what we think about.
So that's a fascinating story, Gagan, about two failed attempts. What was it about the failures that really created the success story that Vertex is about right now? What were the lessons that you learned? And if there are entrepreneurs and people who are thinking of starting their own ventures, it would be very interesting to know. Now you made me really curious. So what is that differentiated value proposition that you came up with when you created Vertex?
So the first two business models were more like an outsourced world, wherein we were just trying to get business and work on an outsourced model. But we thought it's not really working out, because it's something that everybody is doing in the market. If we really need to be successful and we really need to achieve the kind of growth that we're looking at, we need to come up with some kind of a creativity, innovation to the table. And hence what we came up with was an end-to-end solution to a customer. So today it's not only outsourcing that Vertex does. Today, if you are an organization who recently started, okay, or maybe you're somebody who is running operations in the US and you want to expand to India or any other country, so we are the one-stop shop for everything that you do, starting with your brand launch, which includes your marketing, which includes your PR, which includes your website development, which includes your performance marketing. So your brand is launched. Once the brand is launched, what are the activities that the company would need? They would need HR, they would need talent acquisition, they would need recruitment. We are there to support them in terms of staffing. What else they would need is maybe somebody on the phone answering the queries of the customers. That's the call center piece that we can talk about, and then increase their sales with the outbound. And once all of that is done, we get into the automation mode, save the cost of the customer through different kind of technologies with bots, with AI, and smart IVRs. So basically we provide one stop shop, one end solution. So if you are our customer, you don't really have to work with different 3, 4, 5 vendors. We are one company which provides everything under one umbrella. So, Vertex Global Services is into staffing, is into market research, is into artificial intelligence. Vertex Next is into brand launch, is into exhibitions and conferences. Vertex Technologies is anything to do with technology, from a needle to in the haystack to an aeroplane. Vertex Cosmos is the call center division. So, these are different companies. And then we have also something called Vertex Digital Academy. That's our online e-learning platform. So the courses there start at just at 99 rupees. So our idea was to reach the tier 2, tier 3 models where we have great talent. People are brilliant. The only thing which divides them for being successful is probably the skill set that they get, the kind of coaching, the kind of learning that they get. So we're trying to get into the masses through Vertex Digital Academy and get them up the curve in just 99 rupees, where the courses are as low as 99 rupees.
That's fascinating, the kind of stuff that you are doing in covering the entire value chain for a client and in multiple different countries, and setting it up in a few years. It's an amazing story. And where does people leadership fit into this story? You referred to your boss, who both of us know very well, who is a great leader and a very inspiring people manager. But tell us about your own experience of leadership and people management. Is it because you had a great boss by chance that you really started, in this path, or what kind of experiences shaped you as a people manager?
So Prasenjit, the person that you're talking about, we've been very, very fortunate that he also, came on board with us last year, and he's currently spearheading one of the divisions. So we've been very, very fortunate, and I've been very fortunate to work with people who've been absolutely great. Now we all know it's very subjective. What you see is as 6, I may see it at 9, because we are on different sides of the table, but we're looking at the same number. So the idea is to keep learning, keep evolving, pick up the best practices. For me, I really don't think anybody is a good or a bad manager, Prasenjit. It's how they are driving the culture, how how they're inculcating the best practices. Everybody wants to do well in today's cutthroat environment. It's just the way that the things are done. So there are people who will tell us what to do, and there are people from whom we can learn what not to do. So it's up to the individual on how they can learn from people. And it's not only your managers, Prasenjit, that you learn from. Today, I learn from people who are at all levels, across any level, entry level to a CX level. I think the scope of learning is humongous. So I've been fortunate. I can say that people around us have been absolutely great, and the culture that we've been able to drive has been phenomenal. It's more or less on how we want to come up as a team, wherein we don't think we want to create a culture of somebody coming on board and leaving without adding anything to themselves. We want to basically create a bond, create a family kind of an environment, and that is where your business productivity will also increase. Now in today's environment, we've all heard of great resignation, we have all heard of great attrition level post COVID. Knock on the wood, we've been so lucky, Prasenjit, that our attrition has not hit more than 5 to 6% post COVID, and before COVID it was much lesser. And in the last 3 months only, we have onboarded more than 1,500 people, and that's pan India.
I think that's unbelievable. And for somebody who is in the kind of industry that you are in, to actually have single digit attrition is really unbelievable. And let me now get into a little bit specifics, because a lot of people who are watching this would be interested in knowing, what do you do to make a culture like this? And before that, tell us a story about your own manager, and is there, either it could be a great manager or a really bad manager, it doesn't matter, but somebody who did something that really inspired you to give your best. And would there be an example that you would like to share with us, Gagan?
Prasenjit, like I said, in the last 20 years of my corporate, experience, I've had great people working around me. But if you really need to, have one example highlighted, this was my first job, as I mentioned, back in 2002, wherein I was in training, and the head of operations walked into the training room. And it was my first job after after the regular school college. It was my first job. I was trying to learn. I was trying to I basically joined wherein I could learn a couple of things, get my pocket money, buy a new mobile phone, and go back to studies. That's how I joined. But then things turned up really well, and I started my professional career. So this gentleman walked into the training room. This was my third day of the training. We were 50 people in the class, and on the floor there were about 500. So he walked into the training room, and he said, out of those 50, Gagan, you are one of so I was my brother was already working with that organization, and he was at a manager level. And he said that, Gagan, your brother is one of the best managers that we have had. Please don't let him down. Please ensure that you're making him proud. I remember I did not sleep for the next 3 days. I was working on the script, which was given to us to get onto the phone and make those calls. And when I hit the floor, the first day I was the highest seller on the floor. I made a record that I cracked 7 sales on that day, which was the highest on the floor on that particular day. So I think that really inspired me, and that really motivated me. If people above me are looking up to me, wherein I cannot even have a chance of a failure. I cannot even think of getting into a shelf of myself and not giving my 100%. I think that really inspired me to not give my 100 but my 200%. And probably that is something which really turned the tables around that day.
I think you have just shared one of the biggest secrets of people management, which is that people do not work for carrots and sticks for rewards alone. If they are paid reasonably well, they work for reputation.
Absolutely.
Either to gain reputation or not to lose reputation, to protect the reputation of themselves, their teams, and in this case, your brother, which was such a powerful way of inspiring you and understanding what drives people. And reputation drives people far more than any reward or punishment that you can think of as a manager.
Right.
So this is fascinating. I want to ask you, Gagan, the workforce has changed dramatically. And if you look at even pre and post COVID, the kind of sort of mindsets, assumptions, the way people look at their employer. And it is in this context that single digit attrition is something like, it is shocking, actually, frankly speaking, for me, because I've not heard any other CEO in your industry talk about a single digit attrition figure. So tell us, what is so striking about this generation, and how is it shifting? How are people shifting, their mindset shifting, the culture is shifting, and how can, therefore, why would people managers need to also change?
So Prasenjit, I think people managers, I see them as chefs in the kitchen. One chef cannot make one dish for 50 or 100 people in the restaurant, and everybody would be satisfied with that one dish. Everybody has a different taste. Everybody likes different flavors. So Gen Z today, let's say somebody in the age of 30 would like spicy food, and somebody in the same age group may not like spicy food. Somebody in the age of 40 may get motivated by reward and recognition, but somebody in the same age group maybe motivated by reputation, like we took an example. So the best way to the best way I look at it is communicate, is to ensure that everybody's motive is clear. We have something called WIFM, which is WIFM, what's in it for me. Everybody WIFM should be clear. to the manager, so that the manager should know if there are 15, 20, 25 people reporting into him, what is that everybody looks at, what is that motivates them, what is that which will ensure that this person will stick to an organization. And hence he should cook food, or maybe change the recipe, or make something which would please the audience which is sitting out there. It's as simple as that. So I probably took this example because I think that's a classic example of how I see as people managers, and making sure that they are getting the best serves.
So I think in a sense, every manager has limited number of people who are directly reporting to them. So in a sense, it is all about understanding how each one of them is different.
Absolutely.
So if somebody loves Shah Rukh Khan, you can't give that person movie passes for some other star, right? Because it has to be customized.
Correct.
And isn't it difficult? Does it not take away a lot of time of a people manager if they're trying to figure out which dish is the best or most appropriate for which employee?
There has to be a method to madness, Prasanjit. So if we are spending the right amount of time with the people, this communication does not need to change or happen every single day. It can happen maybe once a week, and cannot only happen formally. It can happen, informally as well. Let's say somebody is going out together for lunch. People are, having a smoke downstairs. It can get as informal as it can. And it would basically, if you look at from the other side, if they are spending that 5 hours in a week to understand what works and what doesn't work for them, the productivity of the entire team will be 10x or 20x extra. So that ROI will of those 5 hours will be justified in a much better way on the other side. So it's always better to spend that kind of a time, which will increase the business productivity of your entire team, and hence your business goals are achieved.
In a sense, you remind me of something that we keep saying, that gone are the days where people are resources to achieve the potential of the organization. Today, the organization is a resource to achieve the potential of people. And line managers are the link.
Absolutely.
They are the link between the organization and opportunities that can be given to people. And therefore, that their role has become so much more important. I have tons and tons of questions that I continue to ask you, but something that I cannot resist as one of the best people managers in India, would you like to give us 2 or 3 simple tips? And you mentioned the simile or example of being a chef. So give us a few dishes that every manager should be able to cook without too much of difficulty. What is it that you do as a line manager or as a people manager that really helps you with making your team happier, more effective and productive?
Sure. So I think there are 3 or 4 ways, Prasanjit, that we can look at it. One, and the most important, is connect and align. I always believe that if you are connecting with the team, and if you're aligning with their thoughts to your thoughts, and you're ensuring that the overall calibration is done as per the organizational objectives, I think 50% of your task is done. So for me, the first and the foremost is connect and align with your people. Now that you have connected and aligned, you also need to hear them out. You need to listen. And once you listen, there are few things which we as an organization can do, and there are few things we cannot. So we need to listen and act accordingly. If there is something that an organization cannot do, and we all know we have certain restrictions, so we should be communicating it as transparently as we can, or as the organization wants to do it. So we need to listen, and we need to act on what the people are telling you. Then the third and the most important thing that in the entire value chain is recognition and reinforcement. Somebody who's doing great job, somebody who is taking those extra initiatives and not being recognized, is something which I think is the biggest disaster that any frontline manager can do. So, recognize your people, reinforce the values that you have, and applaud and reward them all the time. That you think, celebrating small wins, celebrating a CSAT that, somebody in your team is getting, and, celebrating a big contract that they are getting. I think every win has equal importance for somebody who is getting that done. So, applauding and rewarding is something which should always be on our minds. And, that basically spreads a positive work environment in the entire team and the entire organization. So, these are 3-4 things that I really believe, are the recipe that, any line manager, if, inculcates, I think they're good. They're good to go.
Gagan, some of the old school managers that I remember from my time might argue that if you continuously praise, recognize every small wins, then people are going to sit on your head. And at the time of the appraisal, they're going to come back and say, boss, you have recognized me so much. Now, why am I not getting promoted? There are some people, some managers are actually scared of what they call as too much recognition. So is there such a thing as too much recognition? What's been your experience, Gagan?
So there is nothing such as called too much recognition. Yes, excess of everything is bad, but it's how we, give the roadmap to your employees. So let's say somebody is getting 10 CSATs in a day regularly. I'm talking about a base level, entry level executive, somebody who's getting 10 CSATs every day. Great that we're recognizing him. What if we tell them that, you've made your own benchmark of 10, why don't you start hitting 12? That's your new benchmark the next week, and maybe give him a glide path that from 12 to 15 to 18 to 20 in the next 6 months, what you're doing today, you can double your own productivity in the next 6 months. It's how you, basically tell your team member that what you have done today is just the benchmark, is just something that, you have done yourself. Why not better it? I've always believed, if somebody asks me who's your biggest competition, I was watching an interview of the next Netflix CEO. The journalist asked him, who's your biggest competition? He said, it's not Disney Hotstar, it's sleep. People tend to sleep, and hence they don't watch Netflix. So if somebody asks me who is your biggest competition, I say who I was yesterday is my biggest competition. I have to do better than what I was doing yesterday. So that's how you inculcate that environment in your team as well.
And I think this is so amazing, because what our research shows us is that the only thing that will differentiate great people managers from others is their ability to really have a personalized way of helping their team members achieve their potential. And achieving your potential is not about comparing with the person next to you. It is about comparing with what you did yesterday.
Absolutely.
And that is all that matters. That's the progress principle. And how do you apply it on yourself? And what is it? Do you have any secret in terms of how do you really measure what you had, where you were yesterday, and how much you have progressed today? Is there any tips on self-development that you want to give us?
Oh, yes. It's both physically and professionally. So 10 years back, I was 120 kgs. I was pretty fat. And, today, knock on the wood, pretty fit. And I spend about 1.5 hours in the gym, irrespective of where I am. Even if I'm traveling, I ensure that I spend that kind of a time. That's how I look at it from a personal standpoint. Professionally, what I do is I basically create a notepad of things that I have done, which I think were something which kind of an achievement for every day and every time. So this is a habit that I have. The next morning that I wake up, I look at those things and I say, okay, this is something that I've already done. How can I better it? How can I ensure that something that I've done yesterday is history? Let's try and do better. So that's something that I spend 30 minutes every single morning on myself to be a better version. And there are times that I'm not able to do that, but then I ensure that I do it before I hit the bed, before I sleep. So this 30-minute basically helps me understand if there is something that I did not do right, if there is something that I realize at the end of the day or the next morning that there was a better way of doing it. There was a better way of communicating. There was a better way of saying it. There are times, Prasanjit, wherein you do things and later you realize, there would have been a better way to say it. There would have been a better way to do it. So I always make notes. And the other day, the next day when I wake up, I see that, okay, this was something which was there, so that I don't repeat the mistake. I don't, get into the same discussion or in the same argument again, or, do a better version. So that's how I look at it.
I think this is a very apt way to end this particular interview, Gagan. And I think the two takeaways from the last point that you made was that you can't be a great people manager if you are not able to manage yourself. So you have to manage yourself first before you try and even manage others. And the second is in every day, in every way, am I slightly better? You don't have to copy the 100 best people managers.
Absolutely.
But you have to tell yourself that can I be a slightly better version of myself? And that's a lifelong journey that will never end. So a people manager is not a reward that you get from somebody else, but it is a journey which is a journey of discovering yourself and developing yourself.
Right.
Gagan, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Prasanjit. It was great chatting with you. Thank you.